All right, so today we're going deep on something pretty intense, a secret mafia plot, like a real-life thriller
Yeah,
to take out a judge, and it almost
I
worked.
did that.
And what makes this deep dive even more wild is the stuff we're looking at, like where we got this information from.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, for you listening, just think about this. We got investigations, we got declassified documents, like real behind-the-scenes stuff,
Yeah.
and even firsthand accounts
Yeah.
that paint a picture of what went down.
So it's not just a story, right? It's like we're going to break down this whole conspiracy from the beginning,
Right.
who was involved, the whole assassination attempt,
Yeah.
and then how it all came out and what happened
Of
after.
what it meant.
Yeah, you ready to maybe have some of your assumptions challenged a little bit?
Oh, absolutely. I'm ready. Let's do it.
Okay, so let's rewind back to the mid-20th century.
Okay.
Like, what was going on back then that made this kind of crazy plan even possible?
Right. Well, I mean, back then, the Mafia was powerful, really powerful.
Oh, yeah.
Like a shadow government
Yeah, they were everywhere.
everywhere. Yeah. In businesses both legit and not.
Yeah, but the sources showed that law enforcement was starting to catch up, right?
Yeah, they were making more arrests.
Yeah.
They were really putting the squeeze on the Mafia's operations.
And history tells us that when you push an organization like that into a corner, they don't always react well.
No, they don't. And in this case, that pressure, that increasing pressure, well, that's what gave them the motive for revenge.
Retaliation.
Yeah, they had to show everyone they were still in control, that they couldn't be messed with.
And that brings us to a pretty central figure in this whole story.
Yeah.
Judge Giovanni Russo.
Judge Russo.
Yeah.
His name pops up everywhere in our research.
Everywhere.
And he was an Italian-American jurist, just a total force to be reckoned with.
He wasn't messing around. He was going after the top guys.
Exactly. High-ranking Mafia members, and he was winning convictions left and right.
Can you imagine the heat he was bringing down on himself?
I mean, you can imagine the resentment
Oh, God.
building up.
So according to what we found out, Judge Russo's success in those high-profile cases put him on the Cosa Nostra's radar.
The Sicilian Mafia.
Like, big time.
Big time. They saw him as a direct threat
To their whole operation.
to everything.
And they didn't just react impulsively. This was calculated. This was planned out.
Oh, it was strategic. We found declassified documents showing that the decision to assassinate Judge Russo happened at a secret meeting.
In Palermo.
Sicily, the heart of the beast.
And they even gave it a code name.
Operation Vendetta.
Vendetta. I mean, that word just sends chills down your spine.
Right. It just embodies that desire for revenge that was at the core of this whole plot.
So we know the why, the what. Now, who are the players, right?
Yeah. Let's meet the cast.
All right. So first up, Salvatore the Snake Greco.
The Snake, just that nickname tells you everything you need to know.
Right. What did our sources say about him?
Well, everything points to him being the mastermind, the strategic mind behind Operation Vendetta.
He wasn't just giving orders. He was running the whole show.
Every detail meticulously planned and executed that was his style. Cunning and control.
And then there's Luigi the Ghost Falcone.
Another name that speaks for itself.
He was the one chosen to actually carry out the hit, right?
He was the trigger man.
So what made him the Mafia's go-to assassin?
Well, he was known for being a ghost.
A ghost.
He could make people disappear, leave no trace.
That's chilling.
Especially given who they were targeting. Greco needed someone reliable. Someone who could get it done cleanly.
But it wasn't just those two guys, right?
No, it takes a village.
Our intel shows a much wider net of involvement.
And this is important. This couldn't have happened without corrupt officials, people on the inside,
Inside law enforcement.
giving them crucial information, Russo's routine, his security, his travel plans, everything.
I mean, that's a scary thought, isn't it?
Is the idea that the very people who are supposed to protect us could be working with the enemy.
Right.
And through all this, Judge Russo himself was in the dark about the specific threat against his life, although he had received some vague threats.
Yeah, but even with those warnings, the sources show that he refused to back down.
He was fearless, dedicated to his duty. He didn't change his routine. He didn't ask for extra protection.
That says a lot about his character.
Absolutely courageous and unwavering in his commitment to justice.
So we got the motive, we got the players, the corruption that made it all possible. Let's move on to the actual attempt itself.
The moment of truth.
Operation Vendetta. This wasn't just some spur-of-the-moment thing. This was a long game.
A long game indeed. The sources show that it unfolded over several months, very meticulously to avoid detection.
They started with surveillance, right?
Absolutely. Months of watching Russo's every move, learning his patterns, looking for any weak spots.
And they found one.
They did his daily commute to and from the courthouse.
It's kind of hard to believe that someone in his position wouldn't have had tighter security.
Right. but that's what they saw as the opportunity.
And so on the day of the planned assassination, Falcone was in position along Russo's route,
Armed with a silenced pistol.
waiting for the moment to strike.
Can you imagine the tension?
I can't.
Russo's car approaching Falcone ready. And then a stray dog, a random stray dog wanders into the road.
A dog.
It sounds crazy,
It does.
but that's what happened. It caused the driver to swerve just slightly.
Just enough.
Just enough to throw off Falcone's aim.
Instead of a fatal headshot, Russo was hit in the shoulder.
A serious wound, but he survived.
Talk about fate intervening.
Unbelievable, right?
So the assassination failed, but it didn't end there.
No way the authorities were not going to let this slide.
They launched a massive investigation.
Wiretaps, informants, forensic analysis, they pulled out all the stops.
And eventually they got their break.
They did a low-level Mafia associate flipped.
He became a state witness.
And he spilled everything he knew about Operation Vendetta.
That must have taken a lot of courage to turn on your own people like that.
It did. It was a huge risk.
But his testimony was the missing piece of the puzzle.
It corroborated everything about Greco and Falcone.
Yeah.
And it exposed the level of hatred they had for Russo.
And the corruption, it revealed corruption within law enforcement.
Right. People who were supposed to be upholding the law were actually helping the Mafia.
That's a blow to the entire system.
It was. And it led to a wave of arrests and prosecutions of those corrupt officials.
This was a turning point, right?
A turning point. It exposed the Mafia's methods and their reach into legitimate institutions.
So Russo survives, the plot is uncovered, corrupt officials are brought down. What happens next?
Well, for Russo surviving, that attack seemed to make him even more determined.
He kept going.
He kept judging right up until his retirement. He became a symbol of resilience in the face of incredible danger.
And on a larger scale, did this whole thing have a ripple effect?
Definitely. I mean, it really kicked off international cooperation in the fight against the Mafia.
Oh, wow.
Governments around the world started cracking down on corruption. They created special task forces to dismantle these criminal organizations.
It's amazing how these real-life events end up in our books and movies.
Right.
We found mentions of this plot in all sorts of pop culture.
It's because it's a story that speaks to us. It's about good versus evil law versus lawlessness. It reminds us that the fight against the Mafia is ongoing, and it takes constant vigilance.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what are the key takeaways for our listeners?
Well, first, it shows that justice can prevail, even against powerful forces like the Mafia. It highlights the importance of staying vigilant, because organized crime is always out there, and we can never underestimate their reach.
And it shows how important transparency and collaboration are.
Absolutely. We need to hold our institutions accountable, and law enforcement agencies need to work together.
It's a sobering reminder that the Mafia might seem like something from the past, but the threat is still real.
It is. But as we've seen, even their most elaborate plans can be stopped with courage and determination from people like Judge Russo and the dedication of those who uphold the law.
This whole story really makes you think, how does something like this, a secret plot that almost succeeded, change our understanding of the fight against organized crime?
And what other hidden stories are out there waiting to be uncovered? Stories that hold crucial lessons for us today.
That's something for everyone to ponder.
It is food for thought.
Thanks for joining us for another deep dive.
Until next time.